greetings from the Mirror Zone. I'm Bryce Skidmore.
I'm David. Wolves are coming. Leskin.
And we have a guest today, the wonderful, the amazing, our Raven from a couple of episodes back, Gabriel Hadley.
You can't just out me as your Raven. This is like
Oh,
now crime will rule the streets of Pleasant Hill.
look at him quoting.
Now that my secret identity has been revealed, my rogues gallery will descend upon the nice hamlet of Pleasant Hill.
What are you doing here? You should be prowling the streets looking for justice.
Oh, it's Friday. No one commits crimes on Fridays.
You guys, Doc Ock is at the door. He seems mad.
Well,
is he a door dasher?
Yes.
Speaking of animal alter egos, we've got a couple of short stories today that are going to be pretty fun. We're going to be doing Saki's The Interlopers and Frank R. Stockton's The Lady or the Tiger. Some pretty good pitches that Gabe brought to us. Good stories. I really enjoyed them.
I did as well. I enjoyed them too.
So yeah, should we? Do you want to say anything about them? Where did you first read them?
I encountered these in I want to say high school, some English class, and they just sort of stuck in my memory as like, oh, these are kind of neat concepts. They're both sort of dealing with choice in a different way. You have Lady and the Tiger, which is dealing with like it's ambiguous choice. That even the reader and the characters aren't really aware of which choice is made at the end. Then you have Interlopers, where they come to a choice, but too late. Their environment is chosen for them and is chosen in a way that they're not terribly fond of. But it's just sort of, for some reason, they stuck in my memory. And then as you were doing this podcast, I kind of jogging through the memory banks of short stories that stuck out to me.
No, they're good ones, and I super like the bent too, where it's one of my favorite subjects to just read about in general is sort of known broadly as animal studies. But it's one of the things that makes me super interested in shit like replicants and Westworld and all of this other stuff. Like, what exactly does it mean for a life form to be considered human-esque? Or the other way to go about that is, how different are human beings actually from animals? And I actually think it's interesting that you bring up choice, because it's like there are choices in these, but like the choices are those omissions. Like, both of them end in such a way where it's like with an illusion of choice, but no, you're right. Like, the environment's already decided for you.
But in Interlopers, definitely. In Lady of the Tiger, she does control the choice and she makes it, but you don't get to know what that choice is.
She kind of it just defers the choice.
It leaves it up to you to decide which choice was made, and it intentionally doesn't give you nearly enough information to make any sort of determination as to which she picked. So I thought those are interesting examinations of interesting probing into dichotomies. Gotta whip out my thesaurus.
No, you have to please use as many $10 words as you want.
Dude, those things are worth at least $15. Inflation, it's real.
You overpaid.
Yeah, you have to pass those gold leaves that are on top of your hyperbole.
That sounds alright.
I'm sorry.
Now my intestines hurt thinking about that. Let's move.
Shall we? So actually, before we get started, I wonder if you guys would indulge me. I kind of wanted to read a passage from something.
Please.
This is from Jonathan Safran Foer's Eating Animals, which is super good. It's the same guy who did Everything is Illuminated. But this is his book that he wrote when he really looked into the way that we process meat and keep animals for food purposes in America. And it's full of really good stuff that will make you not want to eat meat for a while. But I just wanted to pick out this one bit because it's kind of it's not exactly new. People have been asserting some form of this for years. I think even Darwin did, where he's there's really not much difference between human speech and animal calls. They're very similar. This is from Eating Animals, and is from his definition of the word animal. Nothing could seem more natural than the boundary between humans and animals. It happens, though, that not all cultures have the category animal or any equivalent word in their vocabulary. The Bible, for example, lacks any word that parallels the English animal. Even by the dictionary definition, humans both are and are not animals. In the first sense, humans are members of the animal kingdom, but more often, we casually use the word animal to signify all creatures, from orangutan to dog to shrimp, except humans. Within a culture, even within a family, people have their own understandings of what an animal is. Within each of us, there are probably several different understandings. So just a nice little, hey, food for thought. Like,
Yeah,
let's blur that distinction a little.
You know what my thoughts could really use after that?
Cheeseburger?
Some steak, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the pea protein food for thought for 500, please, Alex.
It tastes bland.
But no, I think that's regardless of how you feel about whether or not it's all right to eat animals. I think that's kind of an interesting thing to think about for a minute. Just like how different human beings can be from animals, if we are different, or yes, we're totally different.
Well, for me, I go with science. We are not. We are animals.
Yeah.
We are great apes. Primates. Homo sapiens sapien.
There's almost this built-in idea to, or unspoken part to saying that we're talking about humans and animals, and that just the very act of calling them animals or calling ourselves humans is doing that process.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to be able to have that discourse a little bit, especially considering what's been happening with SeaWorld and, a lot of other animal rights issues that have been happening lately.
Yeah. No, and it's what I think it's one of the things I find somewhat interesting is I think it was Timothy Morton, but like he in one of his essays was like it's almost like wrong and offensive to say animal, not like offensive in that like you can't say it, but like it kind of like you said it's sort of like already in the language, like there's already the delineation too, like Borwer says, where it's like oh no, there's a differentiation between a human being and a lobster or the spine, the vertebrate.
Damn dirty arthropods are stealing our jobs.
I'm pretty sure it's Totino's Pizza Rolls, but
I mean, that's definitely.
Totino's Pizza Rolls are stealing.
That's what makes us animals and the rest of animals humans.
Yeah, well, if we were willing to bring ourselves so low as to microwave Totino's Pizza Rolls and eat them in mass, then perhaps we are the real animals.
I know I am.
Oh yeah. So which story do you guys want to start with?
I'd probably say Lady the Tiger.
I agree.
Lady the Tiger?
Because it's just a personal thing. I feel like Interlopers is stronger, so I kind of want to end with that.
No, that's actually that's perfect.
Yeah, I like that because Lady or the Tiger?
The Lady or the Tiger?
The Lady
question mark.
Or the Tiger
Yeah.
question mark. It comes off as a little bit more of a thought experiment than the other story.
It's kind of a fable. I mean, he sort of sets it up. He's writing in a very fable sort of way.
No, there was an aspect to it that reminded me very much of like The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas, where it was like it was very like, ooh, imagine this like
Imagine if you will
that dig if you will a kingdom.
Yeah.
Where an emperor can betray you with a kiss.
Yeah, can we talk about that emperor a little bit later? We need to go over the emperor.
Oh god, no, we gotta, because it's like I think you brought it up earlier, but just how many times do you have to read the word semi-barbaric?
Yeah,
like
a lot apparently.
I'm getting semi-barbaric just about us talking about the number of times semi-barbaric shows up.
No, and it's like really weirdly I kind of understand, but because it's like they want to portray this kingdom to you as being sort of like somehow civilized yet outside of civilization.
Dichotomy was a good word you used earlier. This definitely shows in this story.
Yeah.
I'm up my price $20. It's not a $20 word.
$20
Supply and demand.
This is like those Sundays I can't afford that are for like $30, but in words instead of Sundays.
So, was it who would like to do a plot synopsis?
Guest, you should start us off.
Okay, all right.
Or wait, would you rather do plot synopsis for the Interlopers?
I can do plot synopsis for both.
Sweet.
I can do lots of things.
Oh.
So, in Lady and the Tiger, you have this semi-barbaric kingdom. We'd say that because that phrase comes up a lot. You have this kind of fantasy kingdom set in some point in the distant past, and it's sort of vaguely Romanesque-ish. And they, high-level crimes are tried in this crazy arena where the defendant opens one of two doors. And there's a random result behind the two doors, one of which has a vicious tiger who immediately jumps out.
Who's hungry?
Probably. I looked, but he doesn't
Starving
actually say hungry.
Really?
Yeah, no, I just sort of assumed
We just assumed
that they'd starve the tiger first to make sure that he killed the guy.
They only fed the tiger yogurt for weeks on end. It's just like, and it's the pooping kind too.
Yeah, and the tiger was not having a good time. Basically, he opens one door and there's a tiger behind it, and it comes out, and goes, and just immediately gruesomely murders the defendant in front of a studio audience or arena audience. And behind the other door.
Behind door number 2.
And door number 2, or sometimes door number 1, because again they randomize them.
Oh yeah.
Is a beautiful lady that the emperor has personally selected as a perfect match for the defendant. Who I guess the defendant's always male. That's looking too deep into this very short little fable.
Can you also say what happens if they're already married?
Oh yeah, I'll get to that. So open the door and there's a lady behind it. Then they immediately, just on the spot, that lovely woman gets married to the defendant. Just immediately, they bring out a priest and they do it right in front of everybody. They describe it as a hilarious wedding.
My favorite kind.
And it does not matter if the defendant already was married, had a family, or any other objections of any kind. They got married to that person right then and there and went off and had a very weird but maybe happy life together.
Justice.
And so that's the setup of this crazy trial system that is bonkers. And so then this dashing young roguish type falls in love with the emperor's daughter. King? Emperor? Is it Emperor? Emperor falls in love with the emperor's daughter. And the emperor doesn't want any of this. He's like, you are going to the arena.
Oh no, it's a king.
Right now. Ha!
Sorry.
So the king's daughter, and he doesn't want anyone messing with his daughter. So he sends the kid to the arena, and the king's daughter has a lot more access than most parties.
Access
involved.
and gold.
Access and the simoleons to make it happen. So she finds out which door is which for that particular day, and her lover looks up at her before he chooses a door, and she very subtly points to
the
right door.
And he knew that she would do
not the
based on
correct
who she
door,
was.
the door to the right.
The right as opposed to the left door. And then you get a little bit of her decision making process of because she absolutely hates the woman that they've chosen. She doesn't want to see her lover go off with someone else, and she's kind of her father's daughter, and so it's a little she's equally committed this insane form of justice. But she also doesn't want to see her lover torn apart by a tiger, and she can't really decide. And then the story ends with that. The story ends with she points toward a door, the kid opens it, and the reader is left to decide
roll credits
which she chose. And that's the entire sort of gimmick of this story is that the author very much does not tell you at all which door was chosen. And you have to decide which, and the answer is neither, because something quantum mechanics result doesn't exist until you observe it, something.
Yeah.
Well, no, and it's one of those things with and I feel like it might be taking on that Omelas project, but in a different angle, where it's using this very simple allegorical story to try and put something across about understanding. And it's I feel like towards the end, the question, the title of the story is literally the question, the lady or the tiger. And once you get to the end of it, it's not only physically did he choose the lady or the tiger, it's is the woman he fell in love with a lady or a tiger? Is that the thing? Or is there, do you know what I mean?
Yes, but I'm not sure that the story is quite that deep.
Well, you're going to have to take it deep.
Yeah, that's crass.
Take it deep, baby. Go deep. Deep diving.
Slower.
In the deep state.
Slower.
I'm 86 in this conversation.
Yeah.
Right now.
You're 69. What? Nice.
Well, no, and it's and that's the thing where it's the tale ends very abruptly, because I think there's no easy answer, because I think it works on so many levels of, in the instance, you don't know if it's the lady or the tiger.
Yeah, and whatever answer you come to says a lot about you.
Yeah.
More than it does about the actual story.
And it's it's very, I like the story because it's you react to it in that way where it's almost like an ink blot.
I would agree with that. I tended to come down on a little bit more of a nihilistic bent on this, and I think she definitely chose the tiger. That's just my own personal opinion, but I think that the numerous mentions of her being a half barbarian and her father's daughter lead me to believe that she let jealousy get the better of her.
Yeah. Well, and there's also this, like, yeah, I wonder about it too. Because it is semi-barbarian. So there is, actually, we can talk about it when we get into quotes, but there's some stuff about the society that makes me wonder how truly barbaric it is.
Yeah, we definitely need to get into that.
But, yeah. So, anyone got anything else?
All bases seem covered.
Cool. Shall we jump into quotes?
Let's jump.
Alrighty. In the very olden time there lived a semi-barbaric king whose ideas, though somewhat polished and sharpened by the progressiveness of distant Latin neighborhoods, were still large, florid, and untrammeled, as became the half of him that was barbaric. He was a man of exuberant fancy, and, withal, of an authority so irresistible that, at his will, he turned his varied fancies into facts. He was greatly given to self-communing, and when he and himself agreed upon anything, the thing was done. When every member of his domestic and political systems moved smoothly in its appointed course, his nature was bland and genial, but whenever there was a little hitch, and some of his orbs got out of their orbits, he was blunder and more genial still, for nothing pleased him so much as to make the crooked straight and crush down uneven places.
Sometimes I do feel like Mr. Stockton is tends to be a little too clever for his own good in a lot of his writing.
No, he
when his orbs got out of their orbits.
Well, no, and it's the thing that I like about this too is like you're right, like it is super flowery, and I don't mean that in terms of it's about flowers. Like it's just full, it's full of tropes and weird stuff.
It's not like florid. It's just like it's just way too clever. He's like, ooh, look at all these like fun little turnarounds I can do. You're like, yeah, dude, it's just like. Can we get to it though?
Well, no, and I think one of the things I think that's interesting about this is a way to introduce the story is you start off talking about this semi-barbaric king who is somewhat tamed by like the cool West, like the Latin nations, like Romanesque, I guess, but like teaching him this law and order and stuff that sort of like balances itself out in some kind of barbarism that he expects. But there's an aspect of the barbarism that's interesting to me because he talks about things like being out of their orbit, like he said, things that start from their natural course, sort of like stars. But like the idea I feel is that his environment is very much a product of him, like as a living being, and like sort of these people. That's like their society is sort of supernatural. They're like really into this nature thing, which I think makes the lady or the tiger question like a little weirder.
Especially given their moral views on murder and hilarious weddings.
It's hilarious.
They're just the funniest things you've ever seen. I mean, the guy's like, I don't even know this girl. We're getting married. It's great. And then the tiger's there. He's a groomsman. It's just the best.
This, you know what? I gotta say, this guy puts King Solomon shame.
Oh, definitely. Firm but fair.
You take that back with the Mage King.
I'm gonna saw this baby in half. I'm gonna make this guy marry a tiger.
Yeah, no. Trick question. They're both tigers, but one of them is a lady tiger.
And is ready to mingle.
Yeah. Tiger single, tiger ready to mingle.
Yeah, one of them is a starving male tiger who just will eat anything in sight, and the other one is a well-fed female tiger in heat. It is a hilarious wedding.
So that's a good one. Does anyone have any that they want to?
Yeah, I did actually. Were you already going to do the one about talking about this? What happened with the king and the lover? If I could do that.
No, go for it.
The semi-barbaric king had a daughter as blooming as his most florid fancies, and with a soul as fervent and imperious as his own. As is usual in such cases, she was the apple of his eye, and was loved by him above all humanity. Among his courtiers was a young man of the fineness of blood and lowness of station common to the conventional heroes of romance who love royal maidens.
I do love that. This is your completely typical protagonist type.
You know who this dude is. This royal maiden was well satisfied with her lover, for he was handsome and brave to a degree unsurpassed in all this kingdom, and she loved him with an ardor that had enough of barbarism in it to make it exceedingly warm and strong. This love affair moved on happily for many months until one day the king happened to discover its existence. He did not hesitate nor waver in regard to his duty in the premises. The youth was immediately cast into prison, and a day was appointed for his trial in the king's arena. This, of course, was an especially important occasion, and His Majesty, as well as all the people, was greatly interested in the workings and development of this trial. Never before had such a case occurred. Never before had a subject dared to love the daughter of the king. In years, and after years, such things became commonplace enough, but then they were in no slight degree novel and startling. I especially like what that all hints at as well. They're like, however this played out, this definitely happens again in the future, and it's now normal. I do think that may also... It doesn't fall on either side either, exactly what happens. Why does this make the event commonplace? And I agree, it also brought up a lot of great tropes about what these kinds of fables have about the lover in the story.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack in there, but it was all pretty good.
No, and it's like, I love that line, too, about, where it's talking about the daughter, and it's like how she loved barbarically, but it's not used as like a pejorative.
No, they're using it, there's a lot of different connotations that come to mind for the way they use it.
No, I like that. Was it? I'm sorry. What did you say before that?
Something. The words that I said before. I'm not sure what. I'm not quite sure. We'll have to leave that to future historians to unearth.
Yeah. There was it. I don't know if you saw it. I posted a thing when, like, that Star Trek meme where it's just from The Force Awakens, where Finn is like, "We'll fix it in post," and Han Solo is like, "That's not how post works."
So true. Anytime you hear anybody say we'll fix it in post and you're hearing that on the recording, chances are it did not get fixed in post.
In fact, I think I want to make it a point from now on to just leave in we'll fix it in post just as a joke.
I would definitely, if we could up the fix it in post comments, I'm pretty sure that our viewing audience will appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when they see us doing this, their eyes will just light up.
This feature is only available to those with podcast hologrammatic vision, which is expensive.
It's great. It's like you're sitting in the room with us.
Wow, it smells like they're really here.
You guys need to clean more. All right, you're out.
Yeah, that guy's off. Cut his mic.
Cut his mic.
Cut his mic.
So, did you have one?
I do. I have a quote from the end.
All right.
You're all like beginning quotes. Bah. No. This is what I think is the most interesting part of the story. Like, the setup is neat, but I like the princess's deliberations as she goes back and forth to know which choice she's gonna make. How often, in her waking hours and in her dreams, had she started in wild horror and covered her face with her hands as she thought of her lover opening the door on the other side of which waited the cruel fangs of the tiger. But how much oftener had she seen him at the other door? How in her grievous reveries had she gnashed her teeth and torn her hair when she saw his start of rapturous delight as he opened the door of the lady? How her soul had burned in agony when she had seen him rush to meet that woman with her flushing cheek and sparkling eye of triumph. When she had seen him lead her forth, his whole frame kindled with the joy of recovered life. When she had heard the glad shouts from the multitude and the wild ringing of the happy bells. When she had seen the priest with his joyous followers advance to the couple and make them man and wife before her very eyes. And when she had seen them walk away together upon their path of flowers, followed by the tremendous shouts of the hilarious multitude.
The
hilarious multitude, in which her one despairing shriek was lost and drowned. Would it not be better for him to die at once and go to wait for her in the blessed regions of semi-barbaric futurity? Barbaric futurity.
Oh my god. Shocking that for my band name, Semi-Barbaric Futurity.
Alright. So let me read the line again. Would it not be better for him to die at once and go to wait for her in the blessed regions of semi-barbaric futurity? And yet that awful tiger, those shrieks, that blood. Yeah, I like that. She's like, oh, this wedding would be like so terrible. Wouldn't it be better for him to die? Oh wait, but the tiger would just kill. Oh God, the tiger would kill him. Like she goes back and forth. It's whether.
No, it's like for her, what's worse?
Yeah, it's like her. Like, is my personal happiness better? But then again, like, watching the guy I love get eviscerated seems pretty terrible, but...
Right. And just to be clear, they mentioned that she is of strength of character and that she also couldn't stand to not see how it played out. She had to be there and watch as befitting being a daughter of her father.
Yeah.
Like, she's gonna be there and she's gonna see it happen, whichever choice she helps him make.
I will meet my ancestors in semi-barbaric futurity.
Baby.
Well, no, it's... No, I love that. I still can't get over that. The tremendous shouts of the hilarious multitude. They brought whoopee cushions.
This one guy had those like spinning like feather things under his arm, and it would make him laugh. It was great.
One of them shook my hands. It had a buzzer on it.
Oh, it was classic. And then like
Amy Schumer showed up.
Right, like someone gave them like wedding gifts of like peanuts when they opened it up and like crazy snakes popped out, and it was great.
There was a chariot and more than one person got out of it. It was so funny.
Right.
Well, no, actually, I have a question to ask about this. Where it's when we think about the concept of semi-barbarity, if it's sort of like exemplified in the choice of these two doors, like what's the barbaric thing and what's the civilized thing? Is the marriage barbaric or is the evisceration barbaric? Because he says from Latin nations, Romans used to feed people to tigers all the time. So like, which is?
Yeah, they're like, oh, they got the progressiveness from the Romans, you see.
Right, so that's the tiger. That's the tiger eating.
But they got the barbarism of the arena from the not Romans? Wait, no, hold on. Scratch that. Reverse it. The Romans were the one with the arena. They would go to the far corners of the earth and grab exotic animals and exotic people and either boink them or kill them or both.
Yeah.
So,
you guys, hot take. The civilized part is not allowing a man who slighted justice to be living, and so they're eaten by a tiger humanely, or the barbaric act of allowing marriages to occur at all.
Yeah. That's
what they took. The barbarity is marriages and the institution of marriage.
Well, I mean, 50% of semi-barbaric marriages end in divorce. So.
I have read that statistic on an old tablet.
I hear your odds go up if you don't semi-barbarically cohabitate before the wedding.
That's true. I've heard that too. From you.
Are we arguing? Are we arguing for or against the semi-barbaric death penalty?
I don't know. I mean, it's the lesser of two evils.
It also might not be a death penalty if you do it right.
Is it the semi of two evils? Also, how's a tiger eating you not a death penalty?
How are you supposed to get a semi if there's a tiger in a door?
Read the book of Daniel.
Dude.
Sometimes you just make friends with fanged things.
Okay, look. One time out of a million, your victim is a Dr. Doolittle, okay? But if they are not a Dr. Doolittle...
How are you supposed to consummate that marriage after you've potentially been almost eaten by a tiger?
That is
like, I would have trouble consummating that marriage.
I haven't been able to get an erection since I saw a tiger eat a man.
Oh, tell me more about the tiger.
Yeah, the guy before me literally was tigered, and there was still blood in the arena from him being tigered. When I was getting married, like... they brought out about the chuppah. I'm imagining it's a Jewish wedding for reasons.
Why?
They brought out the chuppah and it's
before the tiger.
It still had like blood from the last tiger attack on it because they also use it as like a tiger handkerchief.
Yeah, I also
tiger handkerchief.
It's actually I'm imagining because like if you're a lion tamer, you got to have a chair like in a whip. But if you open the other door, you just get to do the lifty thing.
That's true. It's multi-purpose. The dude's like, you guys are not going to believe this. This is my third time through this thing. Like, they put me right back to the front of the lines. There is no wait. I've been married 3 times. No tigers so far.
Oh, wow.
It's so crazy.
I never even considered this, but repeat offenders. Like,
right?
Is there just, like, does he just keep marrying a hot lady? And the king's just like, that's not how this is supposed to work. Like, you're not supposed to get the lady every time.
Yeah, see, the king, he doesn't know that I got a nose that can smell tigers, if you know what I mean. That's why I always choose the door with the dame.
How did you know? How did you know the door with the woman? I just looked at the one your daughter was pointing at.
Oh!
And then a tiger ate me. Shit!
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, that's all I have.
I was going to go ahead and read the end, if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Her decision had been indicated in an instant, but had been made after days and nights of anguished deliberation. She had known she would be asked. She had decided what she would answer, and, without the slightest hesitation, she had moved her hand to the right. The question of her decision is not one to be lightly considered, and it is not for me to presume to set myself up as the one person able to answer it. And so I leave it with all of you, which came out of the open door, the lady or the tiger. I think the lady did.
It was Gallagher.
Yeah, just
he opens the door and just like Gallagher goes blink and like hits a watermelon. He's like, ah! Oh, just watermelon. No, that wasn't so bad.
It's a beautiful woman standing next to a jet ski.
Yeah.
I imagine like the alternate universe version of this, where like he opens the door with a tiger, but it's like a nice like tame tiger, and just goes over and is like is his friend. But if he opens the door with a lady, she just like shoots him in the face. She just went there, like just done, ready. I mean, I like the ending. I mean, the entire point of this story is this ambiguous choice. This like, which is the better choice? Which did the semi-barbaric princess choose? That said, although I love that ambiguity and I love how it's referenced and played on in other works by other authors, it is not for me to presume to set myself up as the one person to answer it. You're the author. You are literally the only person
Your story,
who
bro.
is qualified to answer this question.
But who do you think
You
he
brought
chose?
You brought me to Tiger Ladyland. You tell me.
Right? Get me over the finish line. Don't leave me hanging here. Only semi-barbaric. I want to be full barbaric by the end of this story.
And
Come
it's
on.
like, no, and actually, I appreciate it. Like, I think it's an interesting and a very good ending, and it works for the story, because I think one of the points that it gets at is, in sort of thinking about this, like, animality, sort of like, you know, if we were to think psychoanalytically about it, I suppose, if you keep within you, like, because it says about the king that he is a man who keeps counsel with himself, and after deliberation with himself will make decisions. So if you go take that further within this arena for everyone to see, a choice is made by the person who has offended, and the choice is you open a door and one of the things that comes out is a lady or a tiger. And it's either you're met with marriage or you're met with death. It's the basic plot of the story. But what if it's about what you decide to be coming out of that door? Like, the semi-barbarity, like the sort of split nature, like that has condensed itself into this really weird Hunger Games. What if it's like, do I want to be the tiger or do I want to be the lady?
Well, in both cases, you get to be the victim.
Yeah. Well, in every case, we get to be the spectator, because that's the way the story's set up.
I mean, is this gonna be hilarious or bloody? It's gonna be one of those things.
It's bloody hilarious.
What if the tiger like eviscerates him, but like in a really funny way, and then marries the entrails?
I like that better. He has to marry the tiger.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you through the sound of the wind whistling through my open cavity that used to be my head, because my mind was blown.
So that's the lady or the tiger?
Right.
Was it... Did you...
I just wanted to say one thing before. We talked about a game, you know the game Fuck, Marry, Kill, right?
Yes.
So, if we were to make this into a home version for our viewing audience, we call this the lion or the tiger. And you basically, we pick a person who goes down into the arena, and each of us has to decide whether they get the lion or the tiger.
Lady, if you're getting a lion or a tiger, you're just being devoured by a big cat either way.
Fine, you get the bear, you get the lion, I'll take the tiger.
Oh my.
Exactly. So, you know, Jurgen, my friend Jurgen, I'm giving it a hypothetical example. Jurgen.
Okay, Jurgen. So Jurgen.
Yeah, Jurgen. What do you guys think? Do you think I chose lion or tiger for Jurgen? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Does the word lady exist in your vocabulary?
I lost the train too much before. I can't get back on it. It's just too far ahead. Anyway, that's the home game. Available from Parker Brothers. You have to tell all the backstory first before you play the game.
So, this was published in 1882 in a magazine called The Century. And, it's I guess this is one of Stockton's, or this is Stockton's best known work.
Yes, yeah. It's referenced by some different literary things. He was known for this kind of thing, but I think this is one of the only things anyone would have ever heard of, and even then, I forget his name all day, every day.
No, I'd heard of the story before you mentioned it, but I'd never read it. But yeah, no, I looked at the guy's thing, and yeah, he's definitely got other credits. Do we want to do related material? Cool.
It's not like an analysis thing, or just
I mean,
is it after?
We analyze a bit. We can do more analysis.
We analyzed the shit out of that.
Yeah, I want to do one more point of analysis on this.
Okay, shoot.
All people in this criminal justice system are presumed guilty.
Yes.
This is meting out punishment. This is not meting out justice.
Oh, I agree. Their justice is cruel and hilarious, like life.
You have a 50% chance of death or a 50% chance to marry someone you have never fucking met, regardless of your family status, and you were expected to then go off and live a happy life and never bother the king again, or you will be back here where you were found guilty immediately and put before this 50-50 chance of death.
We're taking longer odds that you marry the tiger. It's that's not exactly the expected outcome, but it pays off a lot more.
And then what if that lady like murders you? Then you had a 100% chance of death. That doesn't seem good. That's
and if you murder somebody else, you're going right back into the arena again.
All I'm saying is the system is broken. Okay, it targets protagonist type men disproportionately.
Stories are always discriminate against protagonist types.
Yeah, Mr. Barbarian, tear down that tiger.
Excuse me, Mr. Semi-Barbarian, okay?
I'm sorry.
We do have some progressiveness from the Latin countries.
Is he a barbarian? Semi-barbarian.
Oh, so chic.
Yeah.
Is that like quarter barbarian?
Yeah, I'm a quarter barbarian on my mom's side.
Like if you're like a 16th barbarian, is it like a hemi, semi, demi barbarian?
Yeah, I sent into ladiesortigers.com in order to find out my lineage of whether I'm semi or full barbarian.
Yeah. Ancestry.com told me I'm semi-barbarian. That was it. I just wanted to point out that I get it's like this fictional this impossible choice. Is life better or is love better? Blah blah blah. But this criminal system does find everyone guilty. I'm just saying every single person who goes into that arena is already guilty. There's no trial. There's no justification. There's no evidence presented. They're just found guilty.
And people are okay with somebody being mauled by a tiger.
People are okay. People come. That arena is packed.
You can hate on it all you want. I would much rather live in a world where I could either get eaten by a tiger or marry a hot lady, instead of just, if he floats, he's a witch. That's a trial by ordeal that's just already set up to fuck me over. At least
I know, you can't flip a coin and not get burned at the stake.
No, it's like cake or death.
Dude, for the float thing, you just fill your lungs with air and you'll float. You'll be fine. Just do a swimmer trick that won't burn you as a witch. But yeah, I just I don't know. Seems like a broken justice system in need of repair by secret superhero the Raven, of which no one knows his secret identity. But he will go to the semi-barbaric distant past.
You're the only one that keeps telling everyone you're the Raven. Your rogue gallery doesn't even... They don't even care.
I am the Raven.
I am the Knight.
Related reading?
Right. For related readings, I wanted to mention Inception and Total Recall, because both of those movies lay down clues as to whether the movie, or how you think the movie really happened, and what you think the outcome was.
No, I think those are really good ones, because it's the weird part of being caught up within a work of art. It's kind of the point of Inception, and Total Recall is you get to a point where you can't tell whether or not it's the story. It's up to you, and you're okay with that.
And the fact that you come to where you're like, well, I'm okay with there not being an answer, and with me having to find the answer for myself, and just be okay with that.
Yeah, that's good ones. Do you want to?
Did you mention that SVU episode?
Yes. The only thing I can really think of, other than the sort of Inception's Total Recall kind of movie that leaves the end ambiguous, is there is an episode of Law & Order Special Victims Unit that's actually titled The Lady or the Tiger. And it is one of the best episodes of that show, just incidentally, because they set up the situation where it's this rape case, but all the details are muddy. Both the victim and the perpetrator are unreliable. They have very conflicting stories, and you never really get a good answer as to who's telling the truth. Mm-hmm. And that episode ends with, we the jury find the defendant, and then it cuts.
Oh.
I literally yelled no way when I saw it. No way.
No, it is ballsy. It's brilliantly done. It's kind of, it takes this idea but kind of blows it up into an actual fully fleshed out story where you don't know who to believe, and it's not clear cut at all. There's no physical evidence. It's all he said, she said. Both people are very unreliable, and you don't know which way the jury's really leaning. And then you don't get an answer because it's Lady of the Tiger, and so I think it's sort of like Lady of the Tiger is sort of like an archetype, right? How he sets it up. On its own, it's not the greatest story that ever happened, but it's a really neat kind of conceptual exercise that I think the hands of like a full on story like that SVU episode, I think it works a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and fun IMDb fact: it's one of the episodes of SVU that doesn't involve someone being eaten by a tiger. I mean, you'd think,
right? I know that episode.
Right, you know what I'm talking about.
That is a different episode.
It is
So
not this
lousy
episode.
with tiger deaths.
It's one of the things SVU is known
Actually-
for, other than
Actually,
Rashahar
that guy
is
gets
tiger
eaten
deaths.
by hyenas, but there is a tiger in that episode.
There is a tiger in that episode. It's true, and there is eating. So, to be fair,
Yeah.
adjacent.
Because I just have a couple Rex. One of them is Arthur Machen's The Great God Pan, which if you guys ever get a chance, you should check it out. It's the story about this magical child who is somehow like most definitely connected with this elder god of nature type of deal, like whatever exists beyond the veil. So this child is born, and it's just basically the hijinks, the Exorcist style horrors that ensue around this woman, and by the end of it, there's a very interesting part where like the lines between God, man, and animal are all blurred, and it's kind of a fun piece. So I like that.
Does Pan have a labyrinth in there?
He does not.
Is there a Spanish Civil War going on?
No, there is not.
Is Guillermo del Toro attached to this project?
Just stop. Actually, Guillermo del Toro would be an amazing director if they ever make this a movie. Like, he would be, like, I swear, it's the same sort of stuff where it's like, he always talks about how he wants to do a Lovecraft movie. Lovecraft, like, got so much inspiration from Arthur Machen. In fact, The Great God Pan is, like, almost totally, almost totally the thing that he stole from when he wrote The Dunwich Horror. Like, it's very much that. So, that's a great story. The other recommend I have is for one of the stories from Angela Carter's short story collection, The Bloody Chamber. The story is called The Tiger's Bride, and it's sort of a Beauty and the Beast story about a girl who marries a tiger who is pretending to be a human. Like, he dresses up like a human, he wears like a weird mask, and he does all this stuff, and after a while she like, you know, she realizes that, like, you know, she knows he's a tiger, and she accepts that, and he accepts his nature, and then she changes, and it's really good. So, and it also, like, it feels like she definitely read.
I feel like that's a reference to this.
Yeah, no, it's got tigers and it's got marriage, and it's like just
that's a very narrow subset of things that involve tigers and marriage. No, it's like Aladdin and Lady of the Tiger.
Exactly.
That's about it.
And it brings up that thing that I see as being very integral to the question of the lady or the tiger at the end, where is the lady or the tiger in reference to his choice? Is it in reference to the woman he loved and what she decided to lead him to? So it's like, is it the lady or is it the tiger? And, you know, so it's like, oh, whoa, this linguistic weirdness of like, I don't know what you're talking about in this. In the Carter short story, there's, you know, human beings also change into animals, which is like, I feel like that's taking the implication of the Stockton story and just turn that shit up to 11.
Part 2. The Interlopers strike back.
Electric Boogaloo.
It is a time of galactic civil war. I don't remember the name of the two families in this, so this joke would go somewhere.
Oh, here, I can pull it up.
War. Huh.
It's Ulrich von Liechtenstein.
It's not Liechtenstein.
And Max von Sydow.
Oh, wow.
It's down by the cottage. We are going to get on with our last story of this episode, Saki's The Interlopers.
As our guest, and because you volunteered and no takesies backsies, did you want to read the summary to us, Gabe? And by read, I mean say.
Yes. In a world.
In a world.
Alright, so this one, you have two warring families. The von Gradwitz family and the Znaeym. Z-N-A-E-Y-M. Let you all pronounce that.
We'll just call him Zion.
So we got Ulrich von G and Georg Z. So now these two families that have been feuding forever over this patch of forest. Each family says, "Oh, you know, you're poaching the animals off our patch of forest," and blah 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 blah. And it's a long feud, and so I think it's von Gradwitz is the one you start with.
Yeah. No, he's the one who won out. Basically, they took it to a court or whatever, and it's been decided that the land belongs to his family.
Yeah, but the Znaims are having none of it, and so Ulrich von Gradwitz and his band of merry men, they go out into what they view as their forest, looking to start a fight, kind of. They're just kind of patrolling the forest, but they're kind of hoping to find the Znaims to to mess up their day. And lo and behold, Ulrich, separates himself from his party to go searching, and he turns around the corner of this tree, and he comes face to face with Georg Znaim, his mortal enemy. And they go, but they're both like, well, we're not going to murder each other in cold blood. But if we get into a fight right here, we'll probably kill each other. But before they can decide what to do,
Providence.
The heavens open and it's lightning, right?
Yes.
It was lightning or wind? No, wind. It was wind. Yeah. The wind kicks up and knocks over the old tree they're standing next to, and it falls on both of them, trapping them. And they both are trapped under the tree, and they come to consciousness, and they realize they can't move. And Znaim has blood caked over his eyes, and he can't really even see very well. And Gradwitz is not in terribly good shape. And they start out, they're trapped in the tree. They go, when my men get here, they're gonna fuck you up. They're gonna,
Oh yeah, well when my men get here.
Yeah, and they do that for a little bit, and then the story's rather short, so it's hard to really tell this. But apparently, about half an hour passes or so, and then Gradwitz is like, you know what? I have my wine skin here. Do you want some wine? We're both gonna be here for a while. And Znaim goes
I don't know about you, but I'm parched.
Yeah, Znaim goes I don't drink wine with enemies. But then they kind of get over their differences, because they're we could be here for a long period of time, and they're why are we even fighting? We're fighting because our fathers fought, and because our grandfathers fought, and wouldn't it be crazy if we walked into town and went, hey, we're friends now, the feud is over. And so they both agree, you know what? Yeah, the hostilities are over. Whoever's men get here first, I'll tell them, get us both out from under this tree. We're done fighting. And Gradwitz sees someone approaching.
Oh, who is it?
And he goes, oh, I think I see someone. And he's
there's at least 10 of them, so it must not be my buddy.
Yeah, Znaim goes oh, there's too many for my guys. And Gradwitz goes, oh, and Znaim goes, whose men is it? Whose men is it? And Gradwitz just goes,
he laughs.
Wolves. And that's how it ends.
Curtains. Fuck. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a pretty intense story. Is it? I really like that. Oh, who is it? Is it your men? No, it's too many to be my men. It kind of reminds me of that one moment in Minority Report, just coming down to it, where it's when Leonard Kaplan is reading the third Minority Report, and it slowly dawns on him that he is about to die. It's that same sort of crushing realization that comes down on you all at once.
Yeah, and it's another example of the last line of the story just being great and not being a true ending in the sense of the word, but it's just this gut punch of an ending. You really think oh my god, they've reconciled their differences. The feud is over. Oh wait, they did it way too late. Now they're just going to be eaten by wolves.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It's a gutsy ending. And it's that part of that great tradition of short but sweet finales.
Yeah, it's kind of a short story.
Yeah,
you get all the background really, really fast. They have the change of heart really, really fast, and then it ends on the mother of all and you don't get the full nice clean ending of a novel. You get the sudden abrupt holy crap ending of a short story.
Yeah.
And obviously, if they buried their differences, maybe not even generations ago, but just earlier that week,
earlier that night,
or that right beforehand.
Well, and this is a thing that we can get into later, and I think we will when we start doing quotes. But it's if you actually go through. You get a lot of stuff about sort of their feud and how it goes back generations and all this stuff, but it's interlaced with this description of the forest. And if you pay attention to the description of the forest, it should be very obvious to you that something's wrong there. They talk about the coldness. They talk also about how animals seem to be running another way for some reason.
Yeah, and their men are never there.
Yeah, no, but they're so I must find this man who's illegally hunting on my land, that they didn't even stop to look at the land.
Yep. Their bloodlust for each other pretty much surpassed any other cognitive function.
Yeah, and they were just so blind to the world around them that they ended up in a very awkward position.
Yeah, the back of a Volkswagen.
Snack time.
They ended up in a very awkward position that they were over there, and a little bit was over there, and there's some bits from over there too.
At first we were in an awkward position, and then we were in several. Yeah. So, do you guys want to jump into quotes? Or...
Sure. Could I do the one about the wine?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Was that actually, do you mind if I go? I got one.
I was going to ask you if you had one before that one. Yeah, why don't you do that?
The feud might perhaps have died down or been compromised if the personal ill will of the two men had not stood in the way. As boys, they had thirsted for one another's blood. As men, each prayed that misfortune might fall on the other. And this wind-scourged winter night, Ulrich had banded together his foresters to watch the dark forest, not in quest for four-footed quarry, but to keep lookout for the prowling thieves whom he suspected of being afoot from across the land boundary. The roebuck, which usually kept in sheltered hollows during the storm wind, were running like driven things tonight, and there was movement and unrest among the creatures that were wont to sleep through the dark hours. Assuredly, there was a disturbing element in the forest, and Ulrich could guess the quarter from whence it came.
But yes, wrong.
But he was wrong.
Yeah.
He's like, they're probably all upset because my nemesis is out. Nah, bitch, wolves.
Yeah, you guys aren't important.
I had to look up roebuck because I thought it was like some old-timey term. It is.
It's
a type of deer.
It is.
Yeah, I did a double take when
It's
that
a
first
roe
came around, but then I kind of reread it the second time through, and I was like, oh, that's what they're talking about, right? Got it.
I really weirdly knew what a roebuck was because of a Tom Waits song called November. But no, there's a lyric about, a body being tied to the branches of a roebuck stag. And I'm like, what does that mean? And then I looked it up and I'm like, oh God, this is a dark song.
It's
good stuff though.
The only deer that you can purchase at Sears. I assume.
Sears roebuck.
Yes.
Nice.
Well, bam!
Sears.
Topical.
Sears is the wolf, the ram, and the heart.
Mallpocalypse. Yeah, Joss Whedon's Mallpocalypse arc was my favorite part of the Angel Saga.
Yeah, it's in their 6th season they got canceled again. They'd run out of normal apocalypses, so they had the Mallpocalypse.
Yeah.
Did you have quotes?
I did. Should I read them?
Slowly.
I don't feel comfortable with that, so I'm gonna read it at my own pace.
Slow.
I'm just gonna forge ahead then. Both men spoke with the bitterness of possible defeat before them, for each knew that it might be long before his men would seek him out or find him. It was a bare matter of chance which party would arrive first on the scene. Both had now given up the useless struggle to free themselves from the mass of wood which held them down. Ulrich limited his endeavors to an effort to bring his one partially free arm near enough to his outer coat pocket to draw out his wine flask. Even when he had accomplished that operation, it was long before he could manage the unscrewing of the stopper, or get any of the liquid down his throat. But what a heaven-sent draught it seemed. It was an open winter, and little snow had fallen as yet. Hence the captive suffered less from the cold than might have been the case at that season of the year. Nevertheless, the wine was warming and reviving to the wounded man, and he looked across, with something like a throb of pity, to where his enemy lay, just keeping the groans of pain and weariness from crossing his lips. "Could you reach this flask if I threw it over to you?" asked Ulrich suddenly. "There is good wine in it, and one may as well be comfortable as one can. Let us drink, even if tonight one of us dies." "No, I can scarcely see anything. There is so much blood caked around my eyes," said Georg? Georg? Yeah, said George of the Jungle. Said Georg.
Georg of the Gungle?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Said not as well-known composer Georg Felix Telemann.
Bless you. I lost my place.
Sorry.
"No, I can scarcely see anything. There is so much blood caked around my eyes," said Georg. "And in any case, I don't drink wine with an enemy." I really like that passage. It says everything about this. The story does a great job of compression in terms of giving us everything that we need in a small amount of space. As you said, I didn't really realize it was 30 minutes until after you brought up.
Well, someone explicitly said it. The only reason I know it is because I think it's Georg, specifically says it's been about half an hour.
I missed that. And it's mostly due to the fact that I was kind of experiencing this as like a second-to-second type of situation. Yeah. And I really think that this sort of act of humanity and the reconciliation begins is right with the wine. It's like this the primal needs and the primal like empathy that he has with someone in the same situation as him.
Yeah.
It overrides everything, and even good wine can solve these problems.
It can. No, once you strip away, like, and it's, I love stories like this where it just, these two dudes have, like, this ancestral beef, and once they've been trapped for a minute under a log, and they're sharing a bottle, it's at that point they realize that they're not that different.
No.
Like, that maybe it's bullshit that they're fighting anyways.
Yeah, and it's really well handled. I don't think I've ever seen that done so well in such a small amount of space. So I did really appreciate that, both as the gesture and as a method of storytelling.
Yeah.
That's my quote, and I'm sticking with it.
No, it's a good one. I like that one. There was one I wanted to bring up, just because it's where we get our title from. We fight this quarrel out to the death, you and I and our foresters, with no cursed interlopers to come between us.
He says it again a little bit later.
Yeah, and it's the same thing too, where it's like later in the end, I'm not gonna look at the line right now, but it's like, no interlopers shall come between the peace that we've made between us.
Yeah, dude, Georg is all about no interlopers
ever.
He's like, you will not interlope on my war/peace.
No one interloping on this, except for the wolves.
Yeah,
which I think that's like, it's kind of an interesting shorthand where it's like you read a title called The Interlopers and you assume that the interlopers are humans.
Yep. Did you have any quotes? I was gonna do my quote of just the ending.
Oh yeah. No, is it? I actually have it queued up right there if you want. Was it actually? I have one more before that.
Okay.
And now you're the interloper.
For a space, both men were silent, turning over in their minds the wonderful changes that this dramatic reconciliation would bring about. In the cold, gloomy forest, with the wind tearing in fitful gusts through the naked branches and whistling round the tree trunks, they lay and waited for the help that would now bring release and succor to both parties. And each prayed a private prayer that his men might be the first to arrive, so that he might be the first to show honorable attention to the enemy that had become a friend.
Yeah, humans are just like, I want credit for this reconciliation. Okay, I need my men.
I want to be the bigger man. No, I want to be the bigger man. It
He
kind of reminds me of two dudes. Like, seriously, if they survived this encounter, you would see them in a diner 2 weeks later, fighting for 15 minutes as to who's picking up the check.
Right, and they're putting their differences towards something that's more reconciliatory, but they're gonna keep fighting.
Yeah.
Or they would if they survived this.
Yeah. No, I also want to bring it up too because I love the description of the forest. Like, it's one of the things that I think is highly underrated is good descriptions of winter, and I feel like this story is full of wonderful winter imagery.
As a quick aside, isn't Vivaldi's Four Seasons one of the Voyager recordings?
I think so, actually.
So winter was one of them. Okay, yeah. So my quote is the end, the iconic part of this story where the climax and twist and end are all in one word, which is pretty incredible. So as a preface to this quote, they decide they're going to shout for help because they're like, our men don't know where we are. We should start shouting. So both men raised their voices in as loud a shout as they could muster. They hear us. They've stopped. Now they see us. They're running down the hill toward us, cried Ulrich. How many of them are there? Asked Georg. I can't see distinctly, said Ulrich. 9 or 10. Then they are yours, said Georg. I had only 7 out with me. They are making all the speed they can, brave lads, said Ulrich gladly. Are they your men? Asked Georg. Are they your men? He repeated impatiently, as Ulrich did not answer. No, said Ulrich with a laugh. The idiotic, shattering laugh of a man unstrung with hideous fear. Who are they? Asked Georg quickly, straining his eyes to see what the other would gladly not have seen. Wolves.
Great ending.
Yep.
Because it's like up until the last like 2 sentences, you have no indication that it is anything other than their men coming to rescue them.
The interlopers are their men.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until Ulrich didn't answer, and then he said with a laugh, the idiotic chattering laugh of a man unstrung with hideous fear. Like he suddenly goes from, oh hey, they're making great time toward us. No, that's not.
Oh, no.
No, that's just
no.
I just meant Dagon laughter. That's
what that is. It's unhinged laughter.
Yeah. And I think this story overall fits more into your like
Man as animals.
animal theme, like man
Yeah.
as animal stuff. Like Lady and the Tiger,
no, that one was like a little bit more.
it's a bit more of a stretch. Like the tiger is there just to be something that kills you immediately. It doesn't have to be a tiger. It just sort of fits in with the sort of old fantasy theme. But with this one, yeah, it's literally they're so separated from. It's also kind of like a commentary on Saki saying it's not natural for these feuds to happen. It's not.
Yeah.
It's showing these men separated from their nature so much that they do not read the clear warning signs that nature is trying to tell them that it is a well lit night with clear skies. It's not too terribly cold, which means there are probably wolves hunting, and you can see the animals all reacting to the fact that it's the kind of night that wolves are like, well, I know we're diurnal, but like it's a well lit nice night.
Right.
Let's take out some animals. They're so removed from their nature, from from what is actually natural and correct of not having this crazy blood feud forever that they don't read the warning signs until it's way too late.
Yeah.
And if we are going to compare this to The Lady or the Tiger, we could say that whereas the title is apt for that one in that you don't know which one ends up being the choice, and in the end of this one, if the lady was both of them becoming friends and living past this encounter, the answer to the story is no, it's the tiger.
Yeah, no, it's the wolves.
There is.
This one has a completely unambiguous ending. It's a very sudden ending.
Yeah.
Very, very quick twist and land. But there is no doubt as to what is about to happen to them. With a single word, wolves, Saki tells you, oh, no, they're dead. They are absolutely 100% dead. They are lying bleeding injured under a tree, and there are hungry wolves out. No, they're done. That's it. That's game over.
Yeah.
No, and it's one of the things that, and I actually do agree where it's like this does fit more into the the deconstruction of the people animal binary, in that they can look out and see the wolves approaching and mistake them for humans, but essentially the story starts out with both of them and their band of foresters prowling the forest. So
they're the animals.
Yeah, no, essentially they are behaving as wolf packs at the beginning. And then at the end, they meet the real wolves.
Yes.
Which, like, and it's
like you all were pretending at wolves.
No, it's like weird. It's like, oh, I guess we're like, it's sort of, they're behaving wolvish, I suppose, for most of the story until they decide to bury the hatchet and stop being petty about this stuff. And then the thing they were playing at, breaks through the fucking, it breaks through from fantasy into reality for them. It's just, oh, wouldn't it be great? We can just be friends. And then all of a sudden, this just rupture. Oh, actually, you're not going to be able to spend St. Sylvester's night together. You're not going to spend any night together beyond this.
Yeah, it's option C. If you thought only option A or B was possible, my men or your men, no. The animals is option C.
There's a Christian aspect that it reminds me too. It's like this line that Jesus has where it's like those who live by the sword die by the sword type of deal, where it's like,
oh yes,
you live your life like a wolf. Surprise, you get torn apart by wolves.
Right, and there's some level of hypocrisy to burying the hatchet because they've literally both been equalized by being smashed under a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's good and all that in their dying moments they came to terms with each other, but it didn't mean anything.
No, if that tree had not fallen, which one of you would have killed the other?
And the answer doesn't really matter. In the end, they both, right before that happens, they might as well both beat each other.
Yeah. And this is going with my theme of the night was choice. In the first one, we have a choice that's left open. The reader makes the choice, and in reality, there isn't an answer. You can debate forever, did she pick Lady or the Tiger? In this one, the choice is very clear and not made by the characters. Or the reader. They came to their choice way too late. They went, oh, we're going to set us in our differences, but what they didn't realize is that their environment had already chosen for them. That the environment agreed their feud was ending tonight.
Yeah. No, and that's one of the things that's probably the most chilling about this story, and the thing that I super enjoy is it reconceptualizes man's place in nature to such a point where it's like, oh, I'm sorry, did you think this stopped when you weren't looking?
Yeah.
Did you think that you could just wander the forest and completely ignore all of the signs that there's definitely a pack of wolves running around?
You were arguing about who had ownership over the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cute. Adorable.
There's definitely like a naturalist element to this, but it's like that wonderful brand of kind of Western naturalism, or sort of Western, where it's instead of like, oh yeah, nature is great and caring. It's like, no, nature is nature. You are a part of it, and if you aren't aware of what's going on around you, nature will kill you. Because again, it gave them all the warning signs they could ever ask for. Which is way more than you usually get when a pack of wolves is attacking.
Yeah.
Usually just like...
No, and to be fair, I knew before I started reading the story that, like how it ended. But I always try to, like, read stuff when I pick it up, like, as if I'd never read it. So just to try and look for effect. But that was, like, I feel like even if I didn't know the end of the story, I would have gotten it by, like, paragraph 4. Because I'm just like, there was enough. There was enough indication that the environment that they were in was obviously trying to show them something that they weren't seeing.
I'm going to kind of disagree with you a bit. I don't think if you had known the ending, you would have known that the environment was going to be the option C. I think up to that point, you think it's just sort of like the environment reflecting their internal struggle, as often happens in fiction. It was a dark and stormy night when the story is dark and stormy. And this one, is this windswept winter where everything is tense and all the animals are on edge, and until you look at the ending, you have no reason to disbelieve Ulrich when he's like, I know why those animals are running. It's because they know some shit's gonna go down. It's like, well, yes, they do, which we know by the ending. The animals knew what the real shit going down was, not this petty human nonsense, which is separated from nature and not realizing that we are a part of the natural world and we don't control it.
Well, no, and there's that horrible thing too, where it's the last quote that you started with, where it's like, oh, I think that's them. Let us call for help. Yeah, no, actually, you're stuck and immobile. You should just broadcast your position to any apex predators that might be out there.
Yep, and do it doubly loud.
Just both of you. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of like they're so caught up in their own little world
and their removal from the world.
Yeah, that they're so caught up in their own nonsense. There's definitely a lot of social commentary, and I don't know exactly when Saki wrote, but I'm sure he's commenting on something that we're so obsessed with our own little petty squabbly nonsense that we're unaware of the real danger, like the actual serious issues that are happening around us, because we're so blind to any warning signs of anything because we're so obsessed with our own nonsense. And that's what their squabble is. It's utter nonsense. They're like, oh, I own this land, or I own this land. Well, no, I mean, realistically, none of you own this land. You're on that land, which means that you're, cohabitating with some apex predators.
You guys were basically killing time until you got killed by the land.
Yeah. Was it? I'm sorry. In answer to your question, late 1800s English.
Oh, I picked the same time period.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, actually, that's kind of interesting to think about the late 1800s, and I guess a lot of people were writing stories about the weird lines between humans and animals.
That scans.
Yeah.
This one is definitely this one's definitely a counter to the whole like, oh, humans should have dominion over nature, which was definitely a very 17th, 18th century like viewpoint.
Yeah.
Of it's mankind's right to dominate everything, and then
no, it's like, oh, of course we have a right to this. We are the natural stewards of the earth. We can carve up any river and change its course for our betterment.
And you don't see a lot of people poking holes in that in the 17th and 18th century, but you do start to see people in the 19th century. They'd be like, question, no. And I think Saki captures that pretty well. Of like, our human nonsense doesn't mean anything if we're not paying attention to what's going on around us. We'll be killed by it because that's just how things work.
Yeah.
And the wolves aren't evil. They're not.
They just are.
Yeah. They just are. They're wolves doing wolf things. It's I don't know if they say it's a full moon, but it's clear from how much they can see that it's like
It's bright enough, yeah.
it's bright enough. It's a full moon night. Like it's not snowing. It's wolf hunting weather. Like that in 19th century Black Forest region of the Germany/Russia.
It's the Carpathians.
Yeah, that's right. Somewhere in the Carpathians, there are wolves there,
And Vigo.
and also Vigo the Carpathian.
But he's not in this story.
Who is clearly controlling the wolves.
And also, he's a
in
natural part of the
in order
environment.
to escape from his painting, enter our world
And dangle a baby.
and dangle
With a ghost.
Have a ghost nanny steal Sigourney Weaver's baby.
Dangle a baby. Dangle. That's a ghostly baby carriage, so it's technically dangling.
Yeah, technically it's just floating over New York.
Yeah.
Is it? Do we want to do any analysis before we go into related reading?
I feel like that was the main analysis.
Yeah.
We were sort of analyzing as we go. Analyzing? Yes, we were
Analyzing.
analyzing as we went.
Analyze this.
Yes.
Get out.
Well, bye.
And I'm David Les.
I'm hereby replacing Bryce Skidmore on the Mirror Zone. I've been Bryce Skidmore the second.
Actually, you're Mirror Universe version of yourself, so that makes a lot of sense.
I am.
Is it? So does anyone want to go first?
Yes, please. Can I? I want to. I'm going to. Ready? I'm doing it. Okay. So when you think about, I'm going to recommend two things.
Yeah.
Bear with me. Follow me on my journey. Play with me. Okay. So when you're talking about the difference between man and animals, when you're talking about struggles against animals, when you're talking about human nature, the two things I think of are The Emperor's New Groove and RoboCop. Bear with me. Bear with me.
Okay.
So, RoboCop ends on one line, which is Murphy. It sums up the whole movie, and that's a movie about people being separated and talking about justice, which kind of ties into the other story we talked about as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Emperor's New Groove has frenemies working together, and also has a scene where I believe they fight wolves and are bickering with each other.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, actually, I think there is a direct reference to this in.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are my two recommendations.
I think it's Jaguars because it's
Oh.
but it's the exact same idea,
It's
but
the
but
situation.
it's set in South America, so it's
Yeah.
Jaguars. Isn't the last line of RoboCop "Friends call me Murphy, you can call me RoboCop," or is that RoboCop like 2 or 3?
That is not the last line of RoboCop.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm 100% sure.
You may call me RoboCop.
Well, to be fair, in a previous life, or at least what I am separated from myself and considering as a previous life, I'm RoboCop. But, Murphy, my name's Murphy. Murphy. Was the last line in Verhoeven wrote in the script.
Yeah, he definitely just looks at the camera and just says, Murphy.
Yeah, he says, Soylent Green is people! Yeah, those are my recommendations. And on a serious note on those, like, Emperor's New Groove does touch on a lot of the topics that this story talks about being removed from nature, and it talks about some of the first topics about barbarism and civilization.
I apologize. That's the last line for RoboCop 3. I rescind.
Don't ever apologize for accidentally quoting RoboCop 3. This should be celebrated in the streets. You might be the first person to purposely try and do that.
I was concerned that might have been for RoboCop 3, so looked up and like, yeah, that's not RoboCop 1 at all.
Not even the writers quote that movie.
Right. There's a progression. The first movie ends with Murphy. The second movie ends with Murphy, the guy who is also RoboCop. And then the third one is...
Friends call me Murphy. You can call me RoboCop.
Right.
Dun, 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 dun,
Right. I remember all of that.
Right. So I'm sorry. I think I interrupted your train of thought at all. So you have RoboCop, that is a justice, ends theoretically on the line Murphy.
It ends on that. I'm willing to stake my reputation on RoboCop.
Early reports suggest that RoboCop ends with the line Murphy.
Yeah. And yeah, Emperor's New Groove talks about reconciling with frenemies over shared troubles.
Yeah, I didn't think about it before, but I think there is a scene that is a near direct reference to this book.
Yeah.
This story.
Yes.
Is it? Shall I?
And it has David Spade in it. Just that's all.
Is it? I got a couple of recommends for this. The first one I actually didn't write down. It came to me as we were analyzing because it's like it just was so obvious. But I would recommend the Batman comic, The Long Halloween.
Yes.
And I would mainly because there is an aspect in this story that's wonderful. If you've seen like The Dark Knight, you've seen sort of like the story of Batman where he's sort of pressing the regular criminals too hard, so they have to lean on supervillains. And but in the Long Halloween, you get to see sort of more of that relationship between organized crime and like Batman's rogues gallery, and how continually off-put the mob is by these people, like by the supervillains, because they think that there's something like that you have, like, yeah, we're criminals, but we have honor, and we're just trying to protect our own. But um, as soon as Selena Kyle sees how she can upset the mob's plans, the only thing she does is just go straight to Arkham and break out the Rogues Gallery. So there's this wonderful panel where Carmine Falcone just walks into his office, and there's Catwoman sitting on his desk, and just the Joker, Solomon Grundy, the Riddler, like fuck everybody. Everybody that Batman ever fought is here, but that's the whole thing where it's like it sort of seems to me like that's the wolves coming moment, because these people they play with villainy, and they're like, yeah, we may be villains, but we have honor. And it's like, really? Because there's people out there without it, and they're all in your office now.
Yep.
So
and they're the pure definition of villainy.
They are, and it's like, and that's the situation that leads this story to a head. So there's that. There's an Antoni Samaraki short story that I really enjoy. I don't know if it's translated into English. Honestly, if you bug me, I'll do it for you, but I doubt anyone will. It's a Greek story called The River, or Topotami, and it takes place in a war that is not specified. There is a dude who is in an army, and he's like, basically the first line of the story is the orders were clear: you're not to swim in the river. Because it's a war zone. People who go to the river get shot because there's a bunch of snipers on the other side. But this one guy is just so sick of the war, and he can't think of anything else, that he decides to just go to the river. So he goes to the river, he strips off all of his clothes, so like his army uniform, and he goes swimming in the river naked. So he leaves his clothes and his rifle on the bank, and while he's in the river, he sees another naked man swimming. And neither of them say anything, because you don't know if it's a friend or foe. So they just stop and look at each other and are like tensely silent. And yeah, no, it's the whole thing comes in after that, where it's like, are they going to be like Georg and Ulrich, or are they going to be violent, even though they're caught in an impossible situation? So there's that. And my last recommend would be the film Enemy Mine, which is a very good story about a human and an alien who get stuck in a situation together. They believe themselves to be each other's mortal enemies, and through the course of the movie, they find out they have more in common than they thought.
And the TV trope Enemy Mine is named after that movie.
Yeah, it's a TV trope now, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. My suggestions.
Hand waving.
First, keeping with the theme of mankind being separated from and then reconnecting with its nature, and also wolves are involved. Well, it's just another Angela Carter, The Company of Wolves.
Hell yeah!
Because it's amazing. It's tangentially related to this, but I don't care because it's a great story. Watch her retell the Red Riding Hood narrative in crazy, amazing ways. So there's that. Also, I just was thinking of this as we were talking. Dr. Strangelove.
Why so Dr. Strangelove?
Because in the face of mutual annihilation, they deconstruct the human nonsense. Instead of enemies reconcile, but they reconcile way too late. It's like it's already the end of the world.
Right.
They're like,
they'd already set it all into motion.
We're dumb to have been fine. So actually, the Americans, the Russians, kind of come to an understanding at the end. But it's way too late. The nuclear apocalypse is already coming.
We must have 5 women for every 1 man. I must say, Herr Doctor, you have an exceedingly good plan.
Yeah, it's a similar idea of deconstructing the nonsense feuds that we have. In this case, it's not even really clear if Ulrich and Georg are even leaders of any sort of kingdoms or anything.
They're just landed people. They just are people with land.
Yeah,
and they apparently have posses.
They might be princes. They might just be landowners. It's unclear, which is fine.
I pictured it more as being like Capulets and Montagues type thing.
Yeah,
just maybe wealthy families.
Yeah, or whatever. But in Doctor Strangelove, it's whole governments.
Right.
But it ends up in the same place. They kind of reconcile. A little less so Dr. Strangelove, but they still kind of do.
Right.
But then it doesn't have the environment has already decided that their run is done.
Right. And also my favorite part of the Interlopers is when one of the members of their posse flew down on a giant wolf towards them from the sky with a cowboy hat.
Yeah, I love just the word wolves on the screen as, we'll meet again. It just has the word just wolves. or in stock footage of wolves like tearing apart prey. Don't know where, don't know where. It's definitely my favorite part of Doctor Strangelove. How I learned to stop worrying and observe the fact that all the animals seem to be running away. And then as the deer like jump over the log.
Right.
Like they look up and they realize that they're running away from the T-Rex. I'm like, oh shit, it's the T-Rex.
Also, nobody steal this, but let's do an all-wolf remake with the soundtrack only done by Wolfmother, and it's called Dr. Wolflove.
Yes. Also, I just thought of that because of my joke I just did. Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, definitely Jurassic Park. That's a great man versus animal.
I mean, actually, if you read basically any Crichton, he's very much of the we shouldn't try to control nature and we're part of nature. He's pretty militant about. He was pretty militant about that. But the movie is this great example of he's like, oh yeah, we can we totally be in control of this. We can make it like a tourist attraction. We'll be insanely rich and we'll fill the kids' eyes with wonders. Like, no, these are ancient behemoths. They're going to inevitably break free and murder everyone on this island, and it's only because they can't swim that the rest of the world will be spared.
Yeah, and as we found out, they can drive boats. So we're really pretty
they can drive boats. They can sneak up behind people, get into a cabin, and God, the Lost World was a mess.
Yeah. Well, on that note, shall we call it a night?
Sure.
Yeah. I have been and always will be David Luskin.
I've been Bryce Skidmore.
And I am the Raven. Nevermore.
Yeah.
Have yourself a good night, folks, and be careful on your way back through the mirror.
Yeah. Don't get caught in your reflection.
Don't. There are wolves there. Night.
Bye.